Did you send the $1,500 allowance to Mom, Sophia? When I went to the apartment, Mom was in a terrible state.
My husband, who's usually mild-mannered, turned bright red and expressed his anger. I couldn't hide my surprise.
Please tell me the truth about what happened to the 1500. Sophia, Mom told me she kept quiet about not having electricity or water because she didn't want me to worry.
My husband seems to be worried about his mother and can't stay calm. Apparently, it seems that his mother hasn't even been eating and was looking thin. But I was sure it can't be true, so I told my husband.
Have you seen your mother's notification? If you see it, you will understand everything.
I showed the bank book to my husband, and then he started to tremble.
Hey, what is this? What's going on? Could it be that Mom? No way, it can't be.
My name is Sophia Yamazaki. I work at a publishing company. Since I joined as a new employee, I have been working desperately determined not to lose to men, since they looked down upon me as a woman. At the age of 38, I was finally entrusted with a project. While my subordinates were getting married and retiring, I continued to work, pretending to be strong and saying I live for my work. The work was enjoyable and fulfilling in its own way. When I was young, I used to say I wanted to get married by the age of 40, but honestly, that kind of thing doesn't matter to me. I have my career. I would tell myself that every time I attended a wedding of someone around me. First of all, this work life is painfully lacking in encounters. Every day is just a routine of going back and forth between work and home. It starts with going to the company early in the morning and having a cup of coffee, and ends with working overtime until it's completely dark outside before returning home. But when I think about that refreshing feeling of changing out of my suit into comfortable clothes and chugging a beer at home, I started to think that maybe marriage wasn't that important to me. That's when I met Ethan, a client of mine. I ended up working on a project with Ethan. He is a very capable person and I've respected him. Naturally, we developed a working partnership.
Would you like to go grab a meal together? Yes, I would be glad to.
Even during meals, the main topic of discussion was work. As we began to offer advice to each other, we started to have meals together several times. Then, naturally, the conversation shifted from work to family topics. We started to talk about our mother, father, and the environment around us. It was revealed that both of Ethan's parents divorced when he was young, and his mother raised him as a single mother. She used to have aspirations of becoming an actress or model in the past. He began sharing those stories with me as well. Before I knew it, I was telling him about how my parents got divorced and my father raised me alone. I had never shared this kind of story with anyone before.
I don't want to financially burden my mother who allowed me to go to university anymore. I totally understand that. I feel the same way too. I always think how much I appreciate my father and want to express it to my father.
I started to open my heart to Ethan's kindness and good nature. It made me feel comfortable because we had similar circumstances. Ethan also taught me things like this.
When my mother was young, she became heavily burdened with debt and was deeply wounded by it. Even now, there are still debts remaining and we are in the process of paying them off together.
Ethan said his mother fell victim to a bank transfer scam and was deceived out of a large sum of money around the time Ethan started to work. Ethan has been sending his mother a monthly allowance of 100,000 yen ever since he knew about it. I was deeply moved by his kindness. For a new worker at a young age, 100,000 yen is a considerable amount of money. I feel moved that he was able to send that amount to his mother every month. I strongly feel that I want to repay my father for his hardships and not cause him any more trouble.
Can I also repay that money together with you? What?
It came from my true feeling at the moment, but looking back now, it may have been a complete reverse proposal. Maybe due to our age, it didn't take too long for us to start thinking about our marriage. However, because both of us are busy with our work, we couldn't take that first step towards marriage. However, it seems that my words have strongly pierced Ethan's heart.
Sophia, please marry me.
He proposed to me like that. I accepted with,
Yes, let's take care of our parents together and create a happy family.
and thus, Ethan became my husband and our married life began. He encouraged me to continue working and my work was going well, which led to success both professionally and personally. There were times when I was late from work, and my husband would even cook dinner for me. As busy individuals, we worked together to create a new family by sharing household responsibilities and supporting each other. Initially, my husband and I both considered living with his mother due to our concerns for her. But my mother-in-law made a suggestion and we agreed to it. My mother-in-law said,
Enjoy your time together as a couple.
My husband said, At least I rented an apartment for Mom nearby so that I can rush over if anything happens and check on her right away. Because I am also working, we agreed to increase the allowance my husband used to send to his mother to 150,000 yen per month, and we send it to her every month. I want to give my father a trip as a present. I also had the desire to save money for my future child who may come someday, but right now my biggest worry is my mother-in-law. My husband and I have been working together to continue providing financial support and I have been dedicating myself to work just like before. One day, when my husband returned home from work, he suddenly said to me,
Did you send Mom the 1500 for living expenses, Sophia? When I went to the apartment, she was in a terrible condition.
My husband, who's usually mild-mannered, turned red-faced and expressed his anger. I couldn't hide my surprise.
My mom said that the electricity and water were shut off because she didn't have any money. But she didn't tell us anything because she didn't want me to worry what happened to the $1,500. Please tell me the truth.
My husband seems to be worried about his mother and can't stay calm. Apparently, his mother hasn't been eating and looks gaunt. However, I told my husband that couldn't be possible.
Have you seen the bank book? If you check it, you'll know everything.
When I showed the bank book to my husband, he started trembling uncontrollably.
What is this? What's happening? Could it be that my mother? No way.
As there was a record of a transfer of $1,500 in the bank book, it is clear at a glance that I am making proper support payments. However, there was also another record in the bank book, and my husband seemed to realize the seriousness of the situation. It was reasonable for my husband to get so upset. I recently became aware of something and was initially shocked when I first heard about it. However, we are going to be even more shocked later on. It all started with one phone call. The person on the phone was my father. He would occasionally call me out of concern for my well-being, but during this particular phone call.
By the way, I saw Ethan's mother recently.
He started to talk. I felt my blood run cold as I listened to my father's words.
Did you see that luxury apartment building that was built in front of the station? I saw Ethan's mother come out from there in casual clothes and wondered if she lived there or not. Ha ha ha, I guess not.
I told my husband about it, and he immediately called his mother. However, no matter how many times he tried calling, he could not reach her. The next morning, my husband and I went to the apartment where my father was talking about. The building was probably over 20 floors. The high-rise apartment building looks luxurious with marble floors on every floor. After waiting there for a while, my mother-in-law came out from there unexpectedly, skipping and humming a tune. This is not the usual appearance of my mother-in-law, whom I always see wearing simple clothes, with slightly messy hair, looking tired. There is my mother-in-law who was wearing an expensive-looking coat, had put on perfect makeup and applied a red lipstick, and had neatly styled hair. She was truly been a beautiful woman who had aimed to become an actress or a model in the past. The one who rushed to her first was the husband.
Mom!
I followed my husband. My mother-in-law ran away as soon as she saw my husband's face, but she was quickly caught by his arm.
Mom, what are you doing there? Why did you come out of this apartment building?
He questioned his mother, but she remained silent and wouldn't even look at my husband. He continued to press her, and his grip on her hand tightened.
Ow, ow. Please let go of me, I won't run away anymore.
At the strong persuasion of mere husband, she began to speak as if she had given in.
I live here. This is my home.
Of course, the building my mother-in-law pointed to is the luxury apartment.
What do you mean?
My husband is becoming more confused by her words, and couldn't help but raise his voice. When I looked around, I noticed that we were close to the train station, and people on their commute were staring at us in wonder.
Can we come inside for now? And then please take your time to tell us what happened.
The sulking mother-in-law. The husband in a panic. They both entered the house together. Wow, this is a really luxurious apartment. There are many rooms and a big living room with a large TV and a big sofa. It's a much nicer house than ours.
Mom, can you explain it to me in an easy-to-understand way? It was a lie.
My husband looked up at the ceiling and took a deep breath, trying desperately to control his urge to shout.
Where did the lies start? I really was a victim of fraud. It was terrible, they took all my money.
It seems that it is true that she fell victim to a fraudulent money transfer scheme when she was young. The problem is what happened after that. She ended up developing the worst mindset of if you deceive people, you can easily get money.
So, how do you explain this?
My husband showed her bank book, and it showed a balance of 0 yen. The monthly allowance of 1500 that we had been sending was withdrawn on the same day, leaving nothing in the bank book.
We are sending the 1500 every month as promised, right? Where did that money go?
My mother-in-law let out a sigh and brought out a bank book from the back room. It said balance of $30,000 in the bank book.
I don't understand, Mom. Can you explain why there is $30,000 in this bank book? And also, where did all the previous allowances for us go?
My husband was thinking she is using the 1500 allowance to pay for the rent, water, electricity, and gas bills for her apartment, as well as to repay her debts, live modestly with the remaining money. The mother my husband created in his mind is not here. It's understandable he is in panic.
Well, if I act like I'm poor, you'll give money to me, won't you?
My mother-in-law's face changed. It was a look I had never seen before. It was a cold and cruel expression. Her face is very well structured, but that coldness is scary.
That rundown apartment doesn't suit me.
My husband was speechless as his mother spoke confidently. His mother had been hoarding the money my husband had been sending her since she fell victim to a fraudulent wire transfer. She quickly withdrew the transferred money and deposited it into another account, then pretended to be struggling financially and showed us she had no money. The debt had been paid off a long time ago, but despite that, my mother-in-law kept lying to us about the remaining debt and continued to make us send money, which she hoarded and used for her own extravagance. The apartment she's supposed to be living in was only a disguise. It turns out that she was actually playing around with the remaining money after moving into this luxury apartment. I heard later that she went to gamble almost every day and spent a lot of money. Furthermore, it was a complete lie that father-in-law cheated on her and caused their divorce, as she had been telling everyone. The real reason for the divorce was due to my mother-in-law's promiscuity and reckless spending habits.
If I pretend to be poor, my friends around me will lend me money. Look at me, I was aiming to become an actress, so I'm good at acting.
My mother-in-law is shameless. She certainly is a good actress. I never imagined that my mother-in-law was this kind of person.
Return the full amount to the people you borrowed, and I will collect the rest of the money. What? That money is mine, and if I don't have it, I won't be able to live in my apartment. I absolutely won't return it. Stop being so thoughtless and not understanding the feelings behind the allowance we were sending to you. We will cut ties with you. Wait, don't say you're going to cut ties with me. I understand, it was all my fault. I'll return all the money, okay?
The moment the word cutting ties was mentioned, my mother-in-law immediately became anxious. It may be an act, but she seems to want to stay as parent and child with her son.
Please don't even think about running away, mother-in-law. If you do, we will find you no matter where you go. You haven't forgotten my father's profession, have you?
When I mentioned my father, my mother-in-law's face turned even more blue. In fact, my father is a lawyer. He raised me as a single father, and seeing him like that motivated me to work hard as well. I am considering talking to my father if my mother-in-law runs away, but I don't want to add any unnecessary work to him. So I stared at my mother-in-law as hard as I could. After that, my mother-in-law started to return the money as promised. It seems that my mother-in-law borrowed money from everyone.
I lent 100 to her, because she seemed to be really struggling. She said she didn't have enough money for food this month. Was that a lie? And when she said she needed 200 to make ends meet because her water had been shut off that month, was she lying about that too?
When people found out the true reason, they were all shocked. Although my mother-in-law returned the money to her friends, the negative rumors spread quickly, and no one was concerned about her or paid attention to her anymore. Not only did her friends leave her, but others also distanced themselves from her. We also decided to keep our distance from her. We have stopped sending her any allowances, of course. She now lives in a shabby apartment and works as part-time, and is living on the brink of whether her water will be shut off for good. People's personalities are often unchanging, and she struggles with interpersonal relationships at work or elsewhere, leading to frequent job changes as a result. She is looking worn out and ragged, but it's a consequence of her own actions. My husband apologized to me for shouting at me about not sending money to her when he saw the bank book.
I'm truly sorry. You were faithfully sending her money like you promised, but I doubted you.
Although it was shocking when my husband looked at the bank book and immediately suspected and shouted at me, it was because he was thinking of his mother. I didn't blame him at all for getting angry for the sake of someone important, given that he is usually gentle. That shows how much my husband trusted his mother. It is certainly worrying to think about the feelings of my husband who was betrayed by mother, and also about the mother-in-law who lives alone in an apartment. However, we had decided to watch her from afar for a while for the sake of his mother. Then, we returned to our normal daily life. The $1,500 that we had been sending as allowance was saved as I had hoped, as repayment to my father and for the future of our children. How many months had passed after that? Just as my savings began to accumulate, it was as if God had timed it perfectly, and blessed me with a new life growing in my belly. I was so happy. I used to be a workaholic, but I decided to quit my job and focus on raising my child. While working, I had seen many colleagues retire due to marriage, but many more people congratulated me and saw me off as I retired. My child has grown up healthy, and my life with my kind husband and cute son has been full of smiles. My father is also very happy to have a grandchild and often comes to visit us.
Sophia, are you happy? Very much.
My father always shows concern for me and speaks to me in that way. And now, I am at the airport, waiting for my husband who is going through the boarding process.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's go now. I'll carry the luggage for you, father-in-law.
A trip with my father, which was a dream come true. My father, my son, my husband, and I were going on an overseas trip as a way of repaying my father's kindness, with the four of us.
Let's go, Grandpa. Follow me. Ahahaha.
I left Japan with my husband, exchanging smiles. I never want to betray the precious smiles of my family. Taking my mother-in-law as a negative example, I will always strive to protect the smiles of my family.